Let's Talk About Animals is sponsored by Pet Fest and the Pet Philanthropy Circle.
Meow.
Let's Talk About Animals, hosted by Jewel.
And that's actually from him being struck by a bullet. So due to that, he's actually
A bullet
not
or a
a
bolt?
bolt.
A boat. Okay, a boat.
And due
I thought
to
you
that,
said a bull, and I thought, my goodness.
no bulls in
Hi
the ocean.
there. Yeah. Hello.
So due to that, he's actually unreleasable. So
Oh.
he's going to be staying with us until we can find him a permanent home.
I see. And you do this. You place these with zoos and aquariums around the country, don't you?
Yes, we can.
So he's so beautiful. I would think you'd have a hard time letting him go. What's his name? Rudy. Yes. Hi, Rudy. He seems to be pretty happy.
He's been here.
You must be Rob.
Yes, I must be.
How are you? So
Hi.
nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you. Yeah,
Yes.
glad you can come.
Oh, well, it's a delight to be here. Now, you're the executive director?
Yes, only when things go wrong.
Oh. You're the man in charge.
Yes.
What a beautiful, beautiful aquarium you have
Yeah,
here.
we're quite fortunate that we have a partnership with the Atlantis Aquarium. They're a for-profit aquarium, and what they do is they donate the space to us rent-free. So all this area that you see here is our rescue hospital. So we're able to talk about conservation and stay focused on our mission.
That's marvelous. Now, you're actually funded by the Riverhead Foundation, is that correct?
Well, the Riverhead Foundation is the not-for-profit that runs the program, and so we rely on donations. We have our annual fundraiser. We have our 5K run for the Ridley that we'll do in October, and then we go out and get grants. And we have their adoption program where people can adopt a seal or a sea turtle and help us along the way. Even like this animal here, you'll see that this is one of the animals that will be released tomorrow, and it'll be released at the school that helps raise funds for what we do. But also one of the things that Danielle was talking about is where sea turtles go. Some of the tracking data that we have also shows that they go offshore. And what we've seen is that these animals move a little bit farther south and then stay off more like the northern portion of the Gulf Stream.
Okay, that's warm, isn't it?
So it's warm,
Because
so they'll stay on the warm side and they'll just stay out there, and we've tracked an animal all the way out almost to the mid-Atlantic ridge, so they can go out pretty far offshore. So that's something that we didn't know years ago. Every time we saw an animal going out there, we thought, oh, something was wrong, but now it's becoming more and more common.
I've been reading about your tracking program and that you actually have a number so that if we see turtles and wildlife, I think maybe you do 5, maybe more, I'm not sure, but the porpoises, dolphins, seals,
And
sea turtles.
That's correct. Actually, we have a hotline number. It's 631-369-9829. And that, if you see anything that makes you go, hey, that's interesting, I wonder if anybody would want to see it, we will tell us about it.
Okay.
Especially if you see any animals that have tags on them. We do want to caution the public and make sure that they stay back from these animals because they are wild animals. We don't want to change their behavior. So if you see an animal that's on the beach and say, oh, I wonder if I'm too close, just back up, give us a call, and then we'll record whatever information that we need. And if we need to come out and rescue the animal, bring it back into our facility, then we'll do that as well.
Now, how do you use this as a resource facility? How do you use this information to help protect animals in the future or for the research end of it?
Well, I mean, there's many levels to what we can do with an organization like ours. First and foremost, we're talking about education and outreach. I mean, how many people really around Long Island are aware that we have marine mammals and sea turtles in our waters? Sea turtles all summer. Marine mammals you can see almost all year round. So you can see seals. We have a large home-out site for gray seals that's developing on the east end of Long Island. We're starting to see gray seal pups. So even just the awareness of understanding that these animals might be coming back to where they once were, and how it's really important to make sure that we try to maintain their habitat or know how to interact with them. That's a big, big part of what we're doing. And the other part is watching some of these kids that are coming out and seeing their interest in what we're doing. It's amazing. We have some great programs. We have a couple of releases going on this weekend, which is really exciting because these kids go out and they do fundraisers to raise money for these animals because they want to help. So you can see that they're getting involved in their community, getting involved and talking to people, and you'll go to a fair and you'll start talking to kids, oh yeah, we know who you are. I mean, that's really the biggest part, is that people are starting to think about the environment again. We keep going. We're trying to hide ourselves as much as possible. And people think, well, it is kind of one of the jokes that we have, is that based on what we do here, so we've been working on, we actually have some cameras up on the ceiling that we sort of donated by Atlantis that are paying films in cameras, so people can actually start to see what we do in the background. And that's really starting to bring them home. We have some turtles here, we have some seals.
So how many turtles would you estimate that you were able to rescue? Or how many calls do you get?
If we were to look at this and start breaking down the overall number of calls that we get in a year and say, okay, how many calls do we get regarding sea turtles that are alive? We get a number of animals that will wash up dead. There's the live and dead animals that come up. But these animals come up hypothermic, or cold stunned is what we call it. So if they don't leave our waters early enough in the fall, what will happen is they become hypothermic, they'll float, they start to float, and then they wash up on our beaches. And that's where the public really can make a big difference, is that everybody wants to go out and be healthy and walk on the beaches and do jogging. Well, we just ask you to do it. If you're going to do it in October and November, go walk and run along the high tide line. And if you happen to see a sea turtle, call us, get us involved in the equation. And in a number of cases, we've been able to revive turtles that actually showed no outward signs of life.
I know that now it's illegal to take home a turtle that's a dead turtle. I guess, I don't know what my fingers.
Yeah, they might think your finger to it.
Right, absolutely. But I think that with this law, that would help for the ones that are not actually dead.
Well, these animals are protected under the Endangered Species Act. Many are endangered, so it makes it against the law for you to possess them in any manner.
Dead, yes.
Alive or dead. And that also goes for marine mammals too, because they are protected animals. It's against the law to possess any parts of a marine mammal. So you need to make sure that the public are aware of that. Coming back to it, it does help that people would not try to take it back to their home, because many times these animals we look at, and we've had it with people have interns here where they're watching an animal and all of a sudden we're working with them for a number of hours and all of a sudden it just kind of jumps to life. And coming back to this, we have on average about 12 to 30 animals a year that come up in this condition of cold sun.
Okay.
New York and New England are a big area for cold sun turtles. We work in conjunction with New England Aquarium as well, so they have to be busy. And we happen to have a slow year. We take some of their animals. In this case here, we had a busy year this year, so we had over 25 animals that came in. So you can see most of the animals that are here are animals that are undergoing rehabilitation. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to start releasing some of these back out. And if we're able to get some donations and some funds, we can put some satellite tags on and answer some of those questions.
You know, this one over here, did it lose its scales on the back? Is that why it's here?
Yeah, it's actually the scutes on the top portion of the shell is called the carapace.
Okay.
And so what had happened is they either dried out and then they became more brittle and it'll lose them. But it's still a protective coating there, so it's not necessarily a problem for them in the long term. So you'll see some of the animals might have some wounds and things like that. They heal considerably well, keeping in mind that our goal is to put them back out into the wild. So when we have them in here, green sea turtles will feed predominantly on vegetation about this time in their life stage. So we'll feed them some seaweeds and algae. We'll get them back out into their natural environment as quickly as possible, which usually will take almost a season. So they'll come up in November, December, and then we'll release them in July or August. So they're kind of a long stay guest, but they don't eat a lot, so it's okay.
That's good. And so they're vegetarians too.
They are vegetarians now. When they're younger, they'll feed on just about everything.
Okay.
They are growing. And about this age, they start to become more of a vegetarian, and then we'll put them out. But still, looking at each one of these animals will be on our adoption program. So we have families and children in school groups that can adopt the sea turtle, and then they'll be able to go out on the release. When we release the animal, we'll release them from the beach.
So you mean by adoption, they pay for it to stay here?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
What they'll do is it's a $40 donation, and they'll get a bio, and they'll tell us a little bit about what the animal does, circumstances of the rescue, and that kind of information. And then we'll notify the adoptive parents of when we're going to be releasing, and we can come out and
Well, I have to adopt this turtle. This turtle has given us so much attention, Rob, that absolutely, this one should be, has to have its own television show. Amazing. This fella likes to have attention, and he wants to be on the camera.
There you go.
And what are we going to name him?
I think this one actually might be Elvis here.
Oh, Elvis. No wonder. All we need to do is buy him a guitar.
There you go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Has he been adopted?
Well, we could check, but we could definitely get you an adoption of this guy right here before you go.
Okay.
No problem.
That sounds great. Beautiful.
Notice that this one's a little bit larger.
Yes.
Look,
Oh, my.
I think he doesn't like the fact that we're not paying any attention to him
I'm
anymore.
sorry, Elvis.
See
I'm
what
sorry.
happens?
Yes.
But you see different sizes. This one had a crack to its carapace there, which seems to have healed itself. And so it looks like it'll be able to go back out into the wild shortly. This one here has a little bit of a sloughing on its carapace here, but it's obviously a little bit larger, darker, but it's also a green sea turtle. One of the ways that you can tell a green sea turtle is you can see on the front, right between the eyes, they have these two long prefrontal scutes. So they're really long, so you can
Okay.
see.
Oh,
those
I
two.
see. Yes.
So it's one of the ways that you can tell. They
green
have a
sea-
narrower head, and if you look at their mouth, it's kind of sticking up.
Uh-huh.
You see that it doesn't have a curved beak in it because they don't feed on the crabs like a fromerly or some of the others.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
And the only reason why we put them in different tanks is one is we just try to keep the number of animals in tanks as minimal as possible, so we kind of move them around. But believe it or not, sometimes some turtles don't get along.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even the
isn't
same
it?
species, sometimes they just won't do it. Years
Do you
ago,
think that has anything to do? Well, are there male and female turtles?
there are male and female turtles.
Okay.
We don't know the sex of these turtles because they're too young.
Yes.
So in order for us to sex these animals, we'd have to be very invasive, and so we feel it's not really something that we need to do. But the other case here is we've had turtles of different species being in a tank together with no problem. It really is just
We have a
hit or miss.
personality.
Somehow, yeah.
That's incredible. We never cease to be amazed by animals and their idiosyncrasies.
Yep. And once again, another bunch of green sea turtles.
Now, these aren't actually technically animals, are they?
Yes, sir.
They are?
They're actually they're marine reptiles, so they're
Okay.
sea turtles, and they are.
Some people
they
say
breed there.
reptiles are not animals. I don't go for that. I think all animals are animals.
Yes.
People are animals
That's
too,
right.
you know? So, good.
So these guys, they breathe there, so you can see that they come up to the surface to breathe there. That's what they're doing when they come up. The thing that we kind of neglected to point out is that every one of these animals that we're looking at right now is a green sea turtle, which is unusual. Years ago, majority of the turtles that we would get would be loggerheads or ridleys, and now we're starting to see more greens, and we think that might be some changes in the population that we're wanting to look at a little bit more closely, and hopefully in the future can get some more support so we can do some more tagging of these animals and get an idea how they use the habitat in our waters. Because one of the things that has happened is we've been able to tag a number of animals, but we tag them at the end of the season, so that's when they're leaving. So it's almost like tagging everybody in Florida,
On the beach.
at the end of the winter. They're all going to be coming back north, but we don't know what they did down in Florida during that whole time. And that would really help us a lot more. So we're exploring some possibilities on where we can start funding a program so that we could release these animals with smaller tip transmitters a little bit earlier and try to get some movements around here.
What does it cost to operate a transmitter?
They vary in cost based on the amount of data that you would collect from it, but an average transmitter that's going to give you dive data, temperature, time and depth is probably about $3,800 for the tag and about $1,000 for the satellite time. So we're talking about $4,000 or $5,000 for a satellite tag that will be put on, and then what that does is it sends a signal to a satellite. The satellite then takes the signal, sends it down, and then they send it to our computer. I have a tag. I'll show you this a little bit.
Good.
After we tag the seal, I'll show you a little bit more about tagging.
Are you serious?
No, we're actually releasing this guy tomorrow.
Right.
We're releasing one on Sunday with Manatuck Elementary School, which is Robert Moses. I mean, they actually do a fundraiser for us.
Okay.
And then we're releasing another one here at Pongpaw on Monday at 11 o'clock. And it's kind of interesting because one of the schools heard about it, and the teacher called up and said, we just bring our students down to do that. So it's a public release, anybody can get out to it, but there'll be a couple of schools
That's wonderful. It really is.
So these are one of our high.
Let's talk about animals. Hosted by Jewel.